today's episode of Python Papi, we're back inside our smart contracts project. Let's have a look at what we're going to be going over today. And yesterday you saw how we actually implemented the default or the fallback function into our code to get our contract running when we call a fund outside of the contract. Today we're going to pick up where we left off. So now if we wanted to get a little more fancy, we can use our default function to modify our fund function so that anytime someone sends ether to our contract, it will automatically call a fund function no matter how we send it. So we can do this by making our fund function eternal, and this is how we can do that. So you can see here we have the internal decorator, and then we're going to add underscore to our fund function before we start it, as you can see here. Let's move down. And notice that we changed the fund function to the underscore fund function, and we have made it internal. This means that it can only be called from within the contract and not from outside the contract. Now, lastly, we will add another fund function that will call the fund function, and this one will be internal, or this one will be external and payable. So the first one was internal. Let me go back and show you. And payable means they only can get called from inside the contract. This one is going to be external and payable, which means they can get contacted from outside the contract. And this is how it's going to get. It's only going to get one set of directions, and it's going to call the internal fund function. So this outside fund function is going to call the inside fund function, and its sole purpose is to activate the fund function. Now, all this does is allows us to call the fund function from the fund function, the inside from the outside, and we can still call the fund function from the outside contract. Now, we'll also do the same thing for the default function, and this is how we would do that. So you can see here the default function or the fallback function also calls the internal fund function. So no matter how we call a fund function from the outside or from the fallback function, we're going to activate our internal fund function. That's going to activate our fund function for us. And that's exactly how we finished our module. So this is what our contract looks like now. So you can see here, we have the external fund function. It's going to go first. That's going to call the internal fund function, as you can see here. This is one that does all the work. The external only calls the internal. So the external doesn't really do anything. It just calls the internal. The internal does all the work. And let's see here if we can find the fallback function also calls the internal. So the fallback function doesn't really do anything. It just activates the internal fund function also. Now that's basically with the end of this module. As you can see, it is completely done. So tomorrow we will pick up with a new module, and that's going to be a better way to send ETH. But of course, I will keep you posted every step of the way. For now, it's the Python Papi. You guys stay Gucci.